did it, it would like print like, oops, sorry. If you did like apple is greater than pear, then it would like give you, why isn't it printing? Oh wait, no, it's here. Yeah, it gives you false, right? So like it's already like a built-in thing in Python. You can use the ASCII characters if you wanted to. So if you want to get the ASCII value of a character, you basically typecast the character as an int. So if you did int, like, see, blah, why does it do that? Oh, I think it's because it thinks it's like something else. But you can typecast a character as an integer, so that's how you get the ASCII value. There was also a dude, Brandon, I think, right? Is he here right now? Hold on, because I know we're missing some people. Is Brandon here? Okay, Brandon is not here, but what he did was pretty cool in his homework. He actually, I hope he doesn't mind if I show. Well, I don't want to like show his homework like without his permission because he's not here. But what he did was basically he's had like an alphabet string. So he did like string is equal to like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, blah, 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 right? The entire alphabet. And then he like took like the characters from like, from each of the strings that he was like trying to compare. And he basically like found the index that it was in this string and used that to order the strings. And I thought that was super cool. That was like that was a very unique way to approach it. And I thought it was really interesting. I would talk more about it, but he's not here. So it feels kind of like talking behind his back. Are there any other questions on the homework? Okay, we have a bunch of content to cover today, so I shall move on if that's okay with me. Oh wait, this is the wrong one. This one. Okay. So, I think we might run out of time, so I'm just gonna skip the review since hopefully you guys remember this.
Nope.
Okay. So today we're gonna talk about Python functions. So, let's say we want to find, sorry, there's like a bunch of like random rain falling outside my window. But Python functions. Let's say we want to find the value of a variable z. So like, let's say if x is greater than y, z's value is the sum of x and y, and otherwise it's the non-negative difference of x and y. So you could code this, right, with like different variables, different variables, like with different values for x and y. But if you wanted to like spontaneously change the values of x and y, you don't want to have to like re-hard everything, right? So like you could say, oh yeah, x equals 10 and y equals 6, and if this happens, then z equals x plus y, and else z equals y minus x. But like, what if you wanted to run this over and over again, right? Like and you wanted to like change the values of x and y each time? Then it would get very annoying to like copy paste this, right? So that's where functions come in. So, oops. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What did the original thing say? Oh yeah, well, whatever. Wait, no, because if y is greater than x, then absolute value of y minus x is going to be the same as y minus x. So the absolute value is kind of unnecessary. But anyways, Python functions. So a function is a block of code that's intended to achieve a specific task. And so usually a function will return a value that the caller can use, although this isn't always the case. And so functions are defined using the def keyword followed by the function name and a list of parameters. So you guys already have been using functions, right? There are like a bunch of built-in functions in Python, or you call it with like the, you know, like when you have like list.sort or whatever, or when you do like the length function.
That's probably the most basic one, print.
Yeah, that too. So those are all functions, right? And so when you call a function, you like give it like a parameter or like an argument. right? That's what like goes inside the parentheses. It's like the information that you tell the function so that the function can do the stuff that you want it to do. So now we're going to make our own functions. But first, let's talk about why functions. So functions help break down specific tasks in a code to make it more clear what each section does and keep things organized. So it like makes code flow a lot better because like instead of like having giant chunks of code, right, you can just have like a function that says like sort list and then like print list, and then like you don't have to like see exactly how the list is sorted, right? So then it just like when you're looking at like the main code flow, it just makes things look a lot like make a lot more sense. And then if you want to get into like the nitty gritty of like how each function works, then you can look at like the function itself, right? And this also helps to eliminate repetition in your code because instead of copy pasting the same code block, you can now call a function. And then also because functions are like reusable, like you can use functions and other functions and do like, it just makes things a lot easier to organize, right?
Even recursion.
Oh, recursion? Yeah, oh my God. We're gonna, I think we get into recursion later. We have a lesson on recursion later on. So here's an example of a function. We have like, remember we use the def keyword, right? And then we do def some problem. This is gonna be our function name. And then here we have x, y, which is what our x and y, which are what our parameters are going to be, right? And so like when we call the function, the first number that we pass in is going to be represented by x in this function, and the second number that we pass in is going to be represented by y. So then here we say sum equals x plus y, and then we're going to format this thing nicely and then print it out. So also, pay attention to the semicolon in the first line, right? If you remember, like Python is based on like indentations and code blocks. So whenever there's a semicolon, like the next part is like indented usually, right? So essentially a function is kind of a code block, except for you're giving it a name. And then like you're able to use that name to call this code block whenever you want. So if you guys want to copy down this function, so then we can use it on the next slide and see how it works. Here, I'll write it too. I mean, you won't destroy your program if you do it right. It's
Right,
all about
but you have to have a.
It's all about
Right.
having those cases. You gotta do
But it's
it.
really easy to make a real issue.
Yeah. Okay. But we're not talking about recursion yet. So here we have def sum problem, right? These are gonna be our parameters, x and y. And then we'll say sum equals x plus y. And then sentence equals, I'm just gonna copy this because I'm lazy, but basically we're formatting it right so that it looks nice. And then we're going to say print sentence. And so that's our function, right? But you'll see that if you run the code, nothing happens because we're just defining this code block, but like never in our code do we actually say to run this code block. So this code block isn't going to do anything until we tell it to. So like if we call like sum problem 5, 6, it'll do that. However, if we try to like give it something weird, like let's say A, C, D, and B, C, oops, sorry. However, if we do that, it'll actually still work because you can add strings, right? And since x and y, it's never specified like what kind of variables x and y are here. So you can actually like give it a string or any other thing. Like, you know, here it gives it like a decimal number, and that will work too. As long as like you can add them together, it's going to still work. So that's like, again, it's a thing about Python. Like, it's a cool thing about Python that you don't need to define what type each variable is. Any questions on this? Or does anyone need more time to copy it down? Okay, moving on then. Okay, so this function tries to get the common characters in two strings, and this one returns a value. So here, let me type it in. What does it do? Yeah. Why did it autocorrect me? That's so weird. So you can see here, like in this previous program, right? I mean, sorry, this previous function, we don't return anything, we just print something out. However, for this function, you can see that we're returning z. And so what this does is that like it returns the value of this function to the main function. So remember when we were like running functions like over here, and like I told you that like some of them return something and some of them don't. It's basically like the same thing, right? So if I like did just like get common, I don't know, I'm just typing random, right? And if I just ran that, it wouldn't give me anything. It wouldn't print out anything. I mean, this is from the previous thing, right? So like in order to do something with the values that you return, you need to like store them in a variable, right? So like, let's just say like common equals get common, right? So like this still won't print anything out because we don't have a print statement yet. But now like this, the value of this function is stored in here. So if you wanted to do something with it like later on in your main program, then you're able to do stuff with it. But let's just print it for now. Right, and so that's the set of common characters. Does everyone like understand the concept of returning things? Okay, cool. Okay. We went over that. Okay, so now think about the problem we ran into at the beginning of today's class. Spend 5 minutes to write a function called crazy addition that takes 3 numbers, triples the largest number, and then adds the other numbers to the tripled number, and then print out the results of this function. And so I'm going to, I want you guys to like write this function, and then like, here I came up with, I wrote a bunch of numbers for you guys to put into this function. And so I'm planning on like, I'll probably give 2 people like the same set of numbers. So then like both of you can run that set of numbers and then you guys can check it against each other. And then this is also to like try and make sure everybody is like doing it because you guys will all have different answers. Here, let me see how many people do we have. 1, 2, 3, 4. Why is Zoom so annoying? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay, we have an odd number. So I'm just gonna go like in alphabetical order. So here, I'll write this in the chat. Or at least I'll just go in the order that you guys appear on my screen. So 1 will be Steven and Brandon. 2 will be Daniel and David. 3 will be Heidi and Jeff. 4 will be Laura and Preston. And then 5 will just have a group of 3. Yeah, I probably like made too many numbers. I forgot how many people we had in this class, so yeah, you guys can like, so write a function for this, and then you guys can like talk to each other. You guys can like private message each other, I'm pretty sure. You guys should be able to like private message the other person. Oh, you were still in the waiting room? Oh my God. Okay. Do you know how to write a function? Or like, were you here for that part? Okay. Okay, how about this? Will can just be with Brandon, and then Selena and Victor will just be the only ones. So then like you guys can pair off. Oh, your PyCharm stopped working. Okay. Like when did it stop working? Just like all of a sudden, or like is it like giving you an error message, or is it just being like really slow? Because I know PyCharm takes like forever to load. I mean, yeah, you can just use Replit. I was gonna say. Okay, Victor, if you're done, you can like check your answer against Selena's answer. You should be able to like private message someone, right? Like you can send a private chat to one other person, I'm pretty sure. So you guys can work on this. Here, I'll type the instructions in the chat too. And then while you guys are working on this, I can like give a speed run to Steven. Okay. I'll just paste this in the chat. So you guys can work on that, and then I will speed run quickly for Steven. Okay, so Steven, you know like what a function is? Okay, I'll just go over it really quickly, right? So like let's say like you want to find like the value of like a variable z. Like let's say you want to run this block of code, but you want to run this block of code multiple times, and you want to change the values of x and y each time, right? Well, obviously it would be very tedious to copy paste this block of code and then keep changing your x and y values. So instead, we can write a function. So a function is a block of code intended to achieve a specific task. And so usually a function will return a value that the caller can use. And functions are defined using the def keyword, followed by the function name and a list of parameters. So functions help break down specific tasks in a code to make it more clear what each section does and keep things organized, right? So you can have like a section that like this block of code sorts the list, and then like this block of code like does like some operation on it, and then like this block of code, right? So then like when you write things in your main code, it's like very obvious like what each line does, because like your function will literally be like sort list and then like print list and then like, you know. So and it also eliminates repetition in your code, because instead of copy pasting the same code block, you can now call a function. So here's an example function. We have def sum problem, which is x, y, right? So this is like the def keyword that defines it as a function. And then this is the function name, which is sum problem. And then here we have x and y, which are parameters. And like we've all used functions before, right? Like we've used like the built-in functions like print and length. And like that's what like the stuff that goes inside the parentheses is. Those are like the parameters that we give the function, and it tells the function like information that the function will use, right? So here we have this def sum problem, and here it says sum equals x plus y, and then it formats it nicely in the string, and then it prints it out, right? So here, like whatever number that when you call like sum problem, right? Like if you did sum problem like 5, 6, right? So then 5 would be what x, and then 6 would be y. So then it gets passed into this function like this, so then it becomes sum equals, 5 plus 6, and then it does that. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, I need to put up the numbers. My bad. Here, I'll send them in the chat too. Okay. So yeah, another thing to keep in mind is that like this like is like this like denotes that it's a code block, right? So everything like indented after like we call this is like a part of the function. And so like here when we were using this function, right? Like we have these two functions in here or whatever. And if we run it, you can see that it doesn't do anything, right? Because like functions don't like run until you tell them to. So if you need to tell the function to run, so you would have to call like some problem 5, 6, and then it would run. Right, so then it just like makes things easier also. Because now you can see like your thing just has like some problem. And so it just makes a lot more sense like what this piece of code does. And then, oh yeah, and another thing I was saying is that like you can do, this thing works, like you can do some ACD, BCD because like in Python, you don't need to specify what data type your variables are. So like you can put anything into X and Y and it'll still work as long as you can add them, right? Because you can add strings together, so it still works. If you tried to put like a number and a string though, then it would probably give you an error. And oh yeah, I need to talk about returning values. Okay. So yeah, this function, right, doesn't like return anything, it just prints something out. But this function has a return statement. And so it returns and so like when you call it in like the main code, like what happens is that it returns this value to the main code. So if you just run this, like nothing will happen, right? Because there's no print statement in here or anything. So like in order to do anything, you need to like have a variable that stores this value, right? And like we did this some with like the other functions that we were messing around with, right? Like I was telling you guys about like how some things are returned and some things are not. So like when it returns it, it like stores it in like this common variable. So now like if you want to do anything with it, you can like do stuff because now it's stored inside this variable. And so then we can print it if we want. Is that good, Stephen? Okay, cool. Is everyone else done with like the numbers thing and have like checked their answers with like the other person? Just like, can I have like one person from each group like type the final sum in the chat for like what you guys got? Hello? Did you guys like do this? Like, were you able to do it successfully, or are there like any questions on this? Oh, I put it up in the chat. David, you were supposed to do like the second line. Just like for like what the inputs are when you like run the function, right? Because it takes 3 numbers. Yeah. And I wanted you guys to like check with like the other person in your line. Here, I will send it again. So those are the groups. So like check with the other person who's like doing the same line as you to make sure you both got the same answer. And then one of you send the answer to the chat. Because you guys are able to chat privately to each other, right? I'm like pretty sure you should be allowed to. If not, I can ask Miss He to turn it on because there's a setting for it. Okay, nice. What about everyone else? Nice. Does everyone else is everyone else still like working on it? Do you guys need more time or are you confused about something? Hello? Is everyone else alive?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Victor, what did you and Selena get?
I got 18,252.
Okay. Did Selena also get that?
I don't know what we got back.
Yeah, I got that too.
Oh.
Okay, cool. Okay, nice.
No, we have all died.
Yes, we're all living in Ghostland. Ooh, we have a survivor here. Okay, saucy. You get the saucy boy stamp. Okay, wait. Who has not? Heidi and Jeff, I think, are the only ones left. Okay, cool. No worries. Take your time. No, we're probably not going to finish this today. We can finish it next time. I think you guys should still be able to do the homework, though, even just up until this point. Oh, wait, no, you won't be able to do one of the homeworks, but you can do the other one. And then I'll just move the other homework to next class once we go over the material. Okay, cool. Nice. Okay, moving on then. So nested functions. You can define a function within another function. In this situation, the inner function is not visible outside of the parent function. So like you can't call the inner function in like your like main code. Does that make sense? So like, here, I'll let you guys copy this since we are running out of time. Right, so if we put this in here, and we have like this function inner fun that's defined within outer fun. And so like, all right, this doesn't do anything because I didn't call outer fun yet. But we do like 4, 9. And we print it. Why is this not working? Okay, there we go. Right, so you can see like we have this inner function, And then inside this like outer function, we call this inner function. However, if we tried to like print out inner fun, like it wouldn't work because it like inner fun doesn't exist outside of the smaller function. Because like this function only exists inside of this function because that's where it was defined. Does that make sense? Okay. Next, we're going to talk about default values. I'm sure you guys have also seen this before when we worked with the built-in functions, right? So like when you define a function and you want to give it like a default value, you can like put it in like the top here like this. So we have def last first name, last name, and then separator equals comma. So that means that like when you have like the separator, if you don't give it another value when you're calling the function, it'll use the comma as a default value. So like, I'm sure you remember like a previous like, you know, like when we did like the strings like dot split method, right? The default separator in there is a space, but you can like give it other values. So like, you know, we gave it like a comma before to separate a list. So yeah. Oh yeah, I basically just went over this. I should follow my slides a little bit more. But yeah. So when it has like a default value, right, when you can leave out the last value and it will be the same, like it will still be valid. So the default value is evaluated only once during a program's run. This makes a difference when the default is a mutable object such as a list, dictionary, or instances of most classes. For example, the following function accumulates the arguments passed to it on subsequent calls. Like if you do this, I'll paste it in the chat too. So if you run something like this, right, where you have like the list and it's like your default value, and then like you add something to the list, when you call the function again, it doesn't like reset your default value. So it ends up adding onto the list. So this is something to be like a little bit wary about when you are using your default values in your functions. Yeah, it was a lot of fancy words. Get used to fancy words, man. Okay. So, keyword arguments. So when you use keyword arguments in a function call, the caller identifies the arguments by parameter name. So this allows you to skip arguments or put them out of order because the Python interpreter is able to use the keywords provided to match the values with parameters. So this is kind of when we were doing formatting, right? And how you could like assign like keywords to like the different like spaces in your string that you wanted to format. It's kind of similar. So like here we have def print info name age, right? And then when you call it, you can like call it with the arguments not in order as long as you say like age equals 50 and name equals Mickey. So as long as you give it like, then you explicitly say this is the name and this is the age, it doesn't matter what order you put it in, right? Okay, exercise. Actually, wait, let me see how much stuff we have left. We might actually finish. Okay, never mind. We probably won't finish, but let's do this exercise since we won't finish anyways. So let's say a company needs to pay its contractors weekly. An HR person needs a function to calculate the total payment to each contractor, given each contractor's hourly rate and hours worked. If the hourly rate is not available, then the contractor is paid a minimum wage of $11 per hour. Can you write a function to help the HR person calculate how much each employee needs? So basically the function should take the hourly rate and the hours worked, and then return like the total amount that the person should be paid. And if the hourly rate isn't passed in, then the contractor is paid a minimum wage of $11. Actually, wait. Do you guys want to do this right now, or do you guys want me to move on and make this homework? Or do you guys just not have a preference?
I'm good.
Okay, do this now. Okay. And if you're done with this first part, then you can, oh wait. Well, like you want to figure out how much you should pay in total, right? So given the hourly rates and the hours worked, you pay them presumably by the hour, right? So you would multiply the hourly rates and the hours worked. Since that's how you get like their total pay. Does that make sense? I know this is like math, but there's a lot of math in CS. You got to get used to it. Yeah. Math is making a comeback, unfortunately. But also, I don't know. Like, do you think like these kinds of like exercises like are more like interesting because they're like more like, I guess like applicable
Real life.
seeming?
Real life.
Yeah. Do you guys like these kinds of exercises more? Yeah, if you guys are done with this first part, you guys can also, here, I also have a dictionary that you guys can copy into. And so like if you guys want to, you can iterate over this entire dictionary and figure out how much total the company needs to pay to all these employees. I'll copy the dictionary into the chat. Some of you might not have time to get to this part though, but if for those of you who are fast and done with the first part already, the first number in the dictionary is hourly rate. Here, I'll write it in the chat also. And so like it should output like a dictionary also that has like each employee's like how much each employee should be paid. And if the hourly rate is 0 here, then that means the default. Are any of you guys done with the first part yet? Cool. You can move on to the second part if you want. And if you need me to like switch between slides or whatever, just let me know.
Some of the dictionary part is kind of not correct, which means I have to now search.
Huh? What do you mean it's not correct?
Like it's for some reason my computer doesn't really like it.
Huh.
Invalid character identifier.
Wait, maybe I did it wrong. Hold on.
This is not gonna. Uh-oh.
Maybe I think I forgot How are they separated? Wait,
No, it's on Henry.
Thomas? Oh, wait, no. I think it's because, oh, okay. This is so annoying because when you put it into a PowerPoint, the quotation marks are always weird. You always have to change all the quotation marks. It's really annoying. Oh my God. Because in a PowerPoint, like the way the font is, like the quotation marks are like this and then like that, right? But when you do it in like Python, it like, like
that
straight
means that you have to
marks.
fix every single one.
Yeah, wait, I'll fix them all and then like, yeah, wait, I did this before too. It was really annoying. Hold on. Yeah, I'll just do like,
It doesn't seem to be converting for you, does it?
no. This worked before. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, this happened before also. Whenever I type anything in the PowerPoint, it's really annoying. Oh yeah, David already sent it. Nice. Thank you. Yeah, it's really annoying how it does that in the quotation marks for like every single time. Oh, really? Control H? I didn't know that. I usually just do Control F and then I just find like where it gives me the replace option. Actually, it's interesting because Python also has, when I did Control F here, Replit also gives me the opportunity to use regexes, which we are not going to talk about, but they are kind of cool. And you will probably learn about them at some point if you continue doing CS stuff. Okay, do people need more time on this? Yeah. And remember that if the hourly rate is 0, is listed as 0 on here, that means you should be using the default value. I'm in class right now. That's why I'm continuing class. Is everyone good on this? Or do people want more time? If nobody wants more time, I'll probably move on and try to get to like the next exercise. Okay, I'll move on then. So another cool thing about Python functions is that you can have an arbitrary number of arguments. So this is like asterisk args and asterisk quargs, which I know sounds really funny. So sometimes you could see a function like this where it says args and quargs, and then you're like, what the heck is this? So what do these mean? So putting an asterisk in front of a parameter is used to pass a variable number of arguments to a function. So this is for a non-keyworded variable length argument list, and the function ends up receiving a tuple of arguments. So essentially, if you do this, like my args, and then you like put in like a bunch of random arguments, and then it just like prints out each argument. So you can like put in as many or as little arguments as you want when you have a variable number of arguments. Using the asterisk in Python means that you can make the variable iterable. So the system can iterate over it, run some like functions like map and filter and things like that. Oh wait, that was, yeah. So use, we got here pretty fast. So use asterisk args to write a function that can take in any amount of numbers and add them together. And the function will return the sum of all numbers in the args list and then print out like what you return. Oh, another thing about the return statement that I totally forgot to mention. Anything after like the return statement, like in the function is like not, what's the word? It's not executed because after you return, like after the return statement is called, like it goes back to the main function. So anything that comes after it like won't happen. So if you want to print out the result of this, you need to print it like in your main code, you know, like set some variable equal to the sum that this function returns and then print out that variable. If you try and like do like, if you try and do, why did I delete what I had earlier? Can I just Control Z everything? So like if you do this, right? And then if you try and like print hello. It's never gonna print this hello because like you're always gonna be returning this. So like once you return it, it goes back, you know, like it returns to the main function. So anything that happens like after this return statement isn't gonna work, isn't gonna happen. So yeah, that's something important that I forgot to mention. Is everyone good on this exercise? Class is pretty much over now, so. But if you guys want to stay and work on it for a little longer, that's totally fine. And then we'll get to all this stuff next time. If I forget that we already did this, I mean, if I forget that we haven't done this yet, then remind me. Yes, there is homework. So like go to the end of this. You don't have to do this because we haven't learned lambda functions, but for this, okay, so you can either choose one or the other. Either update your random number game or do tic-tac-toe. So the first one is just like if you guys still want to work on like the random number game, or like if you want something that's like a little bit easier. And then this one's like a little bit like harder since you're gonna have to start from scratch, but it's also probably going to be more interesting. Yes, I will post the slideshow. Yes, it does have the same list as a previous homework. It is the same homework, but last time it was optional and this time it is not. But if you did it last time, last time, then you don't have to do it this time. But most people didn't. So anyways, there's like another Zoom meeting like right after this. So I think we have to leave now. So bye everyone. If you have any questions, you can always just ask me on Classroom.
Bye.
Steven, do you have a question?